Hi everyone, Harris here with On the Run. Over the past 2.5 years, I have raced in 4 marathons, ranging from my debut, which was a solo quarantine marathon just by myself through my town in 2 hours and 46 minutes, to this April's Boston Marathon 2022, running 2 hours and 31 minutes, and I've improved a pretty consistent 5 minutes per marathon for each marathon I've raced since my first one. And in this video, I just want to share some tips and insights that I've gathered over these couple years of training and pretty steady improvement in each marathon. One disclaimer before I get started: almost none of this is kind of hardcore scientific data talking about different threshold levels and heart rate levels and this kind of stuff. That's not really my style when it comes to running. I just like to go with what works and to keep it simple. So I'm going to be sharing anecdotes and things that work for me, but if you're looking for something much more technical, there's plenty of other channels that can dive into that. Anyway, starting out with number one, the first tip I have for marathon training is it's flexible. Don't beat yourself up if you have to miss a workout or even a few workouts, or if an injury creeps up, or if you have to travel. I've dealt with all of those and still managed to PR despite those things. For my 2022 Boston Marathon, my 2:31, I had both a nagging leg injury, which caused me to take several days on the bike, and I also traveled to Ireland. I went to Dublin for spring break, which included many pouring rain days, included 2 obviously international travel days, and that was just a really crummy week of training. But the thing that I really learned was that running is so accumulative. If you think about it, you're training for 10 to 20 weeks, that's 70 to 140 days. No one day or 2 or 3 is going to make or break all of your training. And that just gives you a tremendous amount of breathability, I think, to not put so much pressure on any one day workout, run. If it's terrible weather one day, while you still might be able to get in a good mental effort, I don't think it's a terrible idea to maybe push a workout back one day for better weather, or if you just have the worst training week, or if you get injured and you have to go to a bike for a week or 2. These aren't deal breakers, and I went through both of these and still put up a 5-minute PR. It's possible, you just have to stay flexible. Now, what I will say with this tip is that this shouldn't be used as a default option. This should be an insurance policy. So I wouldn't wake up one day and say, I'm feeling tired, it's fine if I just do this tomorrow. While that might be true, I think that's just a bad attitude to take towards marathon training. And I think if you treat this as an insurance policy, it really does take away some of the anxiety about hitting every split of every workout. I mean, it's an accumulative activity and race, and especially if you've been doing this for years, things you did 2 years ago are still kind of helping you mentally and physically with the marathon that you're training for now. So take a breather. Not every split has to be exactly where you want it, and not every day has to look as you planned it. And injuries are not the end of the world with marathon training, especially if you can get on a bike, an elliptical, swimming, some other activity to still work your body. But that's the beauty of marathon training. It's not made or broken in one day, 1 week, 1 session, whatever. It's flexible, and it's really awesome because of that. Number 2, everything is marathon training, right? Everything can work for the good for a marathon runner if they have the right attitude. So I'm thinking especially towards this one workout I had over the summer. This was 2 Boston marathons ago when I ran 2:37, and it was a really hot morning workout by myself. I finished it and it was tough, and I was doing my cool down and I was dog tired. I just wanted to walk so bad. And I told myself, I already did my workout. I did what I needed to do for that marathon training for that day. It's okay if I have to walk a little bit. And while it's true, it would have been okay if I walked a little bit, I also reminded myself that maybe just as important as the workout I just did means finishing this cool down without walking, no matter how slow it has to be, because of the mental training. So it kind of goes with tip number 1, right? Marathons are super flexible. In the same vein, everything can be used towards marathon training. So don't think that any effort is too small to help you in your marathon, because it's a sport where you go through so many different demons in your head when you're out there for 2.5, 3, 4 hours. Every little workout, every little detail, every little cool down or warm up or extra minute you spend out there can absolutely be used for mental training to stick with it when the race day comes around. And I think that's also really beautiful, is that the little things that people won't notice and the little things that don't go on Strava can be the difference between you running, your goal or 5 minutes slower than your goal, because you just didn't have that mental fortitude from your training. So I think that's really cool as well. I think even something as simple as going on bed the right time because you know that you have a long run tomorrow and you have to miss out on some social activity, that's part of training. I mean, that's going to be the type of fortitude and strength that helps you on marathon day. Number 3, keep it simple. For me, in my training, I am not super systematic. I follow a very basic rubric, which has worked very well for me so far. And it's 3 things. First, increase mileage each week until you hit basically your maximum mileage week 3 or 4 weeks before your race. So I'll take my maximum distance, which each marathon I bump it up 5 miles, my goal for my maximum marathon, although my 231 actually ended up being 15 miles less max mileage than my goal was. Again, shows the flexibility of training. You can miss your goals and still run a great race. But anyway, so say your goal is 70 miles for maximum. Take your race day, go back 3-4 weeks or so, do 70, and then each week just take off a couple miles, and so you can slowly build up to that. That's a simple one. Just build up miles slowly. That's a great part of marathon training. Part 2, once a week, do something fast, something significantly faster than marathon pace, whether that's 200s, 400s, 800s, Ks, mile repeats, maybe even 2-mile repeats. It can be really whatever, and do lots of reps and not too much break, right? You don't want to do 6 400s with 4-minute break, at all out speed. That's kind of stupid, I think, for marathon training. But maybe 400s with 60 seconds jog. That'd be a great workout because you're working both the speed, but also the important endurance of a marathon. And third, do something close to marathon pace, whether that be slightly faster than marathon pace with a tempo, 4, 6, 8, 10, 15 miles tempo, or something slightly slower than marathon pace, a 15-mile run, 20 seconds slower than marathon pace. There's a lot of ways, but I think those 3 things are basically what I try to do every week. Increase mileage until a certain point, and in general, something faster than marathon pace and something near or slightly above or slightly below marathon pace. And of course, a long run, which helps you get your weekly mileage. Number 4, this again kind of goes with number 1 and number 2 and number 3, but be flexible and make adjustments as you go. It's great to follow a training plan, but remember, like, the training plan is made for you, not you for the training plan. Don't think that if a training plan isn't working, you have to stick with it. It's like a bad book. You can toss it or make adjustments, and the marathon is so flexible that as long as you stay in the spirit of your training, I think you'll find success. For me, in this most recent marathon, I was really struggling to do some of the workouts that my teammates were doing at Boston College club running, and I had to figure out what workouts were actually going to work for me, which workouts I could actually finish, I actually found joy in, I actually did well in, and that looked very different than what a lot of my teammates were doing. But I found something that worked for me, and I was totally good with that. I didn't really care that it looked very different than my teammates or my original plans. Just find what works, make adjustments as you go, and just do whatever is actually going to help you train. And again, keep in mind all the other tips. It's a flexible race. Just do what is actually going to help you. Number 5, for me, I think long runs are a secret weapon. So I always aim for 6 to 8 runs of more than 18 miles, and really, if I can, 5 to 7 runs of more than 20 miles, of 20 miles or more. I usually max out around 22 miles. I just think the long run is a really great tool. It's just a great tool to get your body used to being out there for a long time, including testing out different levels of hydration, different foods, different gels, stuff like that. For this last marathon, I did 5 runs of 20 miles or more and 8 runs of 18 miles or more. And that includes one 20-mile run that I didn't do and did 30 miles on the bike because my leg was hurting. So that would have been 6 20-mile runs or 9 18-plus mile runs. Again, it's up to you, but I think long runs are just a really easy way of just training for a marathon, getting yourself ready. Number 6, slow days slow, hard days hard. You've probably heard this, Seth James Damore does this. So if I'm racing at 5:45 marathon pace, my slow days are going to be 2 minutes slower than that, right? I try never to go under 7:30 pace on an easy day. I'll go 7:30, 7:45, sometimes 8, occasionally like 8:10 if I'm just really tired. And I think if you're going too fast on slow days, it means either A, you're not going to be as ready for your hard days, or B, it means that you're not going hard enough in your hard days to make your slow days slow. So just slow down on your slow days, make them easy, make them recovered. Don't go 3 minutes slower than your marathon pace. If you're trying to go 7-minute pace in the marathon, don't run 10-minute pace on your easy days. That's not really helpful. Use slow days as a reward, a chance to recover, relax, get ready for your hard day so that you can go hard on your hard day. But don't sprint on your easy days. Maybe do strides at the end, that's good, but don't go too hard on your easy days, and do go hard on your hard days. Number 7, in my opinion, hills are free training. I try to throw in as many hills as I can during my training. It's not a workout, but I think it just adds toughness and strength to the legs, and I just try to do that. I think it's just free training, especially if you're training for a hilly marathon. For Boston, of course, that's a good goal, and I was training on the course, but I would just, if I was doing an 8-mile run, I would just take a hilly route, or maybe add on a couple hills, try to get 300 feet elevation gain per run, try to maximize your weekly elevation. I think it's satisfying to see that weekly elevation climb, but it just works different muscles, and you have to be careful. It can kind of hurt the knees, the quads, the legs. So be careful, maybe utilize ice when you're doing that. But I just think hills are great free training, and I use that in my training. And number 8, finally, leave a little bit of surprise for your race day. Mainly what I mean by this is the shoes. Of course, I highly recommend using the cheater shoes, the Nike Next Percents or any carbon fiber shoe. They're awesome and they're fantastic. But for me, I love not touching those at all, except maybe like the week of, just doing a light shakeout in the shoes to make sure they're broken in and they fit. But otherwise, I train in the same Nike Pegasus every day of training, no matter whether it's an easy day, a fast day, anything in between, a long run, a short run. And then when race day comes around, I put on those shoes, I have a huge mental boost because it's such a treat to put those on. Now, you can argue that using better shoes is good to help you recover more from your hard efforts, and maybe that's fine. But I like having a little bit of a treat on race day with the clothes I wear, the uniform I wear. I like to buy a new pair of socks for race day. I think that's kind of exciting. And then the shoes. So I love having a little bit of surprise on race day. I think that's really fun. So anyway, those are some of my tips and tricks for getting the most out of marathon training. I guess what it all sums down to is marathon running is flexible and it's great. Do what works for you. Just stay with it. In general, live in the spirit of the marathon training and have fun. Find the workouts that are fun, are enjoyable. Keep it simple. Work hard. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, and I, of course, have plenty more content coming up, so make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Peace.